Well, good morning. I'm County Supervisor Joe Simitian. I want to thank you all for joining us today. I want to thank the folks who have my back, literally and figuratively, this morning. And we are here to take note of the start of Distracted Driving Awareness Month. For those of you who did not have April marked on your calendars as Distracted Driving Awareness Month, I want to just take the opportunity to highlight the importance of taking a few moments on this beautiful morning to stop and remind ourselves of the really horrific costs that distracted driving has on our community, our state, and our nation. And we're going to talk a little bit about our efforts here in the county to address distracted driving and the efforts underway in particular by law enforcement to keep all of us and our families safe. Before I do that, I do want to thank some of our elected officials who were able to join us today. And I'll just ask them to raise their hands briefly so you know who's who. San Jose Councilmember Pam Foley, thank you for being with us. Also, Saratoga Councilmember Bilal Aftab. From Los Gatos, we have our Mayor, Maria Ristow, and from Sunnyvale, Councilmember Russ Melton. And want to thank them all for being here. And the reason they were invited is because we are mindful of the fact that we have 15 cities and towns in Santa Clara County. And in addition to the good work that our Sheriff's Department does to address these distracted driving issues, we count on local leadership in every one of the 15 cities and towns to highlight the importance of addressing these traffic issues, these traffic safety issues, and again, thank my colleagues in public service from throughout the county. Now, brief piece of history, and this is something that it's almost painful for me to relive with you all. It was 2001 when I was a brand new member of the California State Legislature and introduced legislation to prohibit folks from driving while they were holding their handheld cell phone up to their ear. I introduced the bill, as I say, for the very first time in 2001, and it failed. I introduced the bill again in 2002, and it failed. I tried again in 2003. And it failed. I tried again in 2004, the bill failed. I tried again in 2005, and candidly, some of the folks in my office said, Joe, you might want to give it up. You're starting to look a little foolish. But I thought it was important, and so I tried again in the year 2006, and in 2006, the bill was passed and signed into law by then Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger, took effect in 2008, and in 2008, the very first year that the bill became law, we saw 700 fewer fatalities on California highways. It was a 20% drop in the number of deaths in California related to vehicle accidents. And to try and make that just a little bit more personal, a little bit more human, what that meant was that every day, a couple of folks were going to get to go home, sit down to dinner with their families who otherwise wouldn't have made it through the day. So I thought it was worth the effort. And now, 15 years later, I continue to think that this is an area where we could save so many more lives if we would just be mindful, attentive, follow the law. And that's why we're here for Distracted Driving Awareness Month. There are, as we'll hear in just a minute from the sheriff, many different kinds of distractions. In 2007, following the hands-free bill, I did a piece of legislation that was designed to address teen drivers in particular. So for those of you who are not aware of it, there is an outright prohibition on teen drivers under the age of 18 from using any mobile service device while they're driving the car. And that was important because we know that the crash rate for 16-year-olds, for example, is 5 times what it is for 18-year-olds. So if we can just keep those kids alive for a couple of years, we've got every chance in the world of keeping them and others safe. And then in 2008, somebody said, well, what about texting? And I had to say, well, I've been working on this for so long, texting wasn't even a thing when I started. But of course, by 2008, it was not only as dangerous, but more dangerous than a lot of the other behaviors we saw out on the road. So in 2008, authored and passed the no texting law, which is still on the books today. I am so pleased that we have made the kind of progress we've made over the years. But the reason for Distracted Driving Awareness Month, and the reason I appreciate my colleagues' willingness to designate April in that way, is that I think we get a little lax. We think we've got it under control. Some of you will know that everybody thinks it's a dangerous behavior, and everybody thinks it's somebody else who's the problem. It's kind of human nature, I'm afraid. So that's what today is about, to say we all have to make a commitment to make sure that we are not part of the problem, that we are part of the solution. And as I say, a reminder that there is still work to do to protect not only ourselves, but others here in the county. To talk a little bit more about what that entails and to introduce his brothers and sisters in law enforcement who are standing with us today, and I thank them. I want to introduce our Santa Clara County Sheriff, Robert Jonsen. Those of you who know Sheriff Jonsen will know a little bit about his background, but for those of you who don't, literally decades of experience in the vast LA Sheriff's Department before he came north, and now experience in two different suburban communities as the Chief of Police in Menlo Park, just over the line in San Mateo County, and then in Palo Alto in Santa Clara County in my district. Obviously, just within the last few months, he has stepped into this new role as our sheriff, and I have been so pleased and so appreciative of his willingness to partner with my office and me and the entire Board of Supervisors on raising these issues. So please give a round of applause and a welcome to Sheriff Robert Jonsen, who will be our next speaker today. Thank you. Sheriff?
Well, good morning, and thank you, Supervisor Simitian, for your leadership and long-lasting commitment to this vital traffic safety topic. So the Sheriff's Office and all of our local law enforcement partners want to expand and share and remind the drivers of the dangers associated with distracted driving, not only today, not only this month, but every moment while you're behind a vehicle. You know, as we shared in our telephone town hall last week, nearly 75% of Californians identified distracted driving as their biggest traffic safety concern in the state of California. That's pretty significant. And as you know, thousands of people lose their lives every year in the United States associated with distracted driving. And mobile devices clearly remain the biggest distraction for drivers. And as the supervisor mentioned, whether it's talking on your phone, texting on your phone, emailing, FaceTiming, taking photos, it is just something that takes your eyes and your mind off the focus of driving. And the research is clearly indicating the dangers associated with this act and the fact that just doing it dramatically increases the odds of a fatality or a serious injury associated with these types of collisions. So, as we talked about, every driver in the state of California should clearly know by now that it is unlawful to utilize your cell phone in your hands while operating a motor vehicle. Plain and simple. So we want people to remember that it is important to keep your eyes on the road and not on your phone, and really just to utilize what the California Office of Traffic Safety is constantly recommending to us, is put your phone down and just drive. To remind everyone of this importance of this traffic issue over the next month, we, all of us, the law enforcement agencies standing behind me today, are going to be very proactive in enforcing the vehicle code associated with these violations. So you are being somewhat put on notice to be aware and not surprised if you get pulled over while talking on your phone or utilizing your cell phone during the month of the month of April. And maybe even in the month of August, that can also happen as well. But I would like to turn it over now to Dr. Hussein, our county's emergency medical director at O'Connor Hospital. Thank you for being here today.
Good morning. Boy, I tell ya, I feel so super safe right now being here that I think I might borrow some of you to go to O'Connor with me, or just maybe bring one of your bikes with us. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you, County Supervisor Joe Simitian and Sheriff Jonsen, O'Connor Hospital, for inviting me here today. As an emergency room physician, I've seen what happens because of distracted driving. I've seen the broken bones, the head bleeds, the punctured lungs, the spinal cord injuries, the struggles to really keep your loved ones alive. But what I want us to think about is what really never leaves us as ER physicians. And that's really the pain and the suffering that people and their loved ones go through because of these accidents. I want us to think about the guy who keeps coming back to the emergency room because the pain in his lower back never goes away. Or that child who keeps waking up at night, reliving the crash and can't focus in school. That athlete who will never be able to walk again. Or think about that mom who's never going to be able to hug her child again. These tragedies, they're really all the same story of regret. And it's regret for taking their eyes, hands, attention off the road to check their makeup or put in navigation, take that selfie, update their Instagram, or answer that text. All these are just stories of people who wish they could take those few seconds back and not make that wrong decision that they did. Like Sheriff Jonsen said, cell phones are really the #1 distraction. Sending or reading a text, all it takes is just 5 seconds, your attention off the road to be doing that. So if you're going at like 55 miles per hour, that's like crossing an entire football field without even looking at the road. The NHTSA says that texting and driving is 6 times as deadly as driving while intoxicated. To me, that's pretty scary. And I tell you, as a doctor and as a mother, just knowing that some of these accidents were actually preventable, that's a sinking feeling in you. People don't really forget their seatbelts. They don't forget to buckle in their kids in their car seats. But they choose to not abide by the law when it comes to hands-free driving. They choose to answer that ding. And I really think the problem is people just think it's no big deal. Just think about how many football fields you're crossing with cars and trucks and pedestrians and cyclists and kids with your eyes closed. So just put away your phone. Really, that's the biggest thing we can do. In my eyes, missing answering that text or that call isn't what you're going to regret. Because of all those stories that I know, I can tell you, you'll regret answering that call or taking that text that's going to take someone's life. Thank you for your time, and let's be safe on the road today.
Thank you, Dr. Hussein, and thank you, Sheriff. And Dr. Hussein, if I can get you to come back, we would be happy to take questions if there are any. Do we have questions from anyone in the group? Directed to any one of the three of us? Don't be shy. Yes. Question was whether there is currently a plan for this kind of presentation, particularly focused on young drivers, particularly high school age folks. Sheriff, I don't have a prompt answer. Anybody there? Or should we take that as a not too subtle hint?
We will take it as a hint, but I will say this, is I think that most of our agencies are constantly engaging with their schools, their student body, to share these types of messages. And one of the things that we'll have available when I say we, our motor officers, our traffic enforcement officers, our patrol officers, in reminding people of these violations, is we have prepared a very specific card reminding them of the dangers that will be issued for those that may only receive a warning compared to the citation. But again, a friendly reminder upon that contact of the importance to stay focused while you're driving.
And I will take that as a not too subtle hint, by the way. We'll follow up. Thank you. Any other questions? If not, then could we please say thank you once more to all the good men and women who have joined us here today. We will continue to push this information out throughout the rest of the month. And of course, throughout the entire year. But this is a month when we have a particular opportunity for focus. I want to thank Dr. Hussein. I want to thank the sheriff for their focus today. I want to thank all the folks in law enforcement for the work they do every day, but particularly on this issue, which is one that we really could push back on successfully, as Dr. Hussein said, if only we keep it top of mind and follow the law. It's just that simple. Thanks again to our friends and colleagues in local government who I am hoping will take the message back and spread the word about the fact that there is not only an opportunity, there is a need to make sure we address this issue. And with that, I will say thank you all for being here. Have a good day. And as the doctor reminded us, stay safe out there. Be well. Take care.